February 2022. Tensions between Washington and Pyongyang reach a boiling point. North Korea fires another ballistic missile into the Sea of Japan. The White House condemns it. Sanctions tighten. Then, without warning, North Korea's entire internet infrastructure collapses. Government websites vanish. Communication channels go dark. The world holds its breath. Was this America's response? A military-grade cyber strike designed to cripple Kim Jong-un's regime? Intelligence analysts scramble. The Pentagon stays silent. South Korean officials are baffled. No one claims responsibility. But behind this digital blackout isn't a government black ops team or a military cyber unit. It's one person, a lone hacker in pajamas, operating from his living room, driven by revenge and a sense of abandoned justice. His actions would spark international confusion, raise questions about cyber warfare ethics, and nearly trigger a geopolitical crisis. This is the story of how one man's personal vendetta almost started a war between two nuclear powers. How did it begin, and how close did we come to the brink? 12 months earlier, January 2021, an American cybersecurity researcher sits in his home office, scanning lines of code on multiple monitors. He goes by the handle P4X, a pseudonym protecting his identity in the shadowy world of vulnerability research. His job involves finding security flaws before criminals or hostile governments can exploit them. It's technical, solitary work that rarely makes headlines. Late one winter evening, P4X receives a message from another researcher in the community. The message contains a link to a new hacking tool, supposedly cutting edge, something useful for penetration testing. Curious but cautious, P4X downloads the file and opens it inside a secure virtual machine, an isolated digital sandbox designed to contain potential threats. Nothing obvious happens. The program runs. No alarms, no crashes. P4X makes a mental note and moves on with his evening. The next day, Google drops a bombshell. Their threat analysis group publishes an urgent blog post revealing an active campaign by North Korean state-sponsored hackers. The operation targets Western cybersecurity researchers specifically. The method? Weaponized files disguised as legitimate tools containing hidden backdoors designed to infiltrate victim systems and steal sensitive research. P4X's blood runs cold. He immediately checks the file he received the night before. His analysis confirms his worst fear. Embedded within the code is a sophisticated backdoor, a secret digital doorway allowing remote access to his entire system. North Korean intelligence operatives had tried to hack him personally. Only his paranoid security habits, running everything in a virtual machine first, saved him from complete compromise. The malware never reached his actual computer, but the attempt is real, deliberate, and terrifying. P4X soon discovers he wasn't alone. Several colleagues also received similar booby-trapped files. North Korea's Reconnaissance General Bureau, their elite cyber warfare unit, was conducting a coordinated campaign to steal vulnerability research, hacking tools, and zero-day exploits from the very people who discover them. The hunters were being hunted by a nuclear-armed regime. The psychological impact hits hard. This wasn't random cybercrime. This was a nation-state targeting him by name, invading his digital life, attempting to weaponize his own research against him and others. It felt like an act of war against a private citizen. P4X waits for the response. Surely the US government will act. Surely someone will protect American citizens from foreign cyber aggression. An FBI agent does contact him, takes his statement, asks detailed questions about the attack vectors and malware signatures. P4X provides everything: logs, files, timeline, technical analysis, then nothing. Weeks pass, no follow-up, no offers of protection, no indication anyone is pursuing the attackers. The silence becomes deafening. P4X feels abandoned by the very institutions meant to defend him. There's really nobody on our side, he concludes bitterly. He's been attacked by a hostile foreign power, and the response is bureaucratic indifference. North Korea struck at him in secret, and got away with it completely. P4X isn't the forgiving type. A plan for revenge. The idea sounds insane even to him. One person launching a counterattack against an entire country, against one of the most isolated, paranoid, and militarized regimes on Earth? But the more P4X considers it, the more it feels not just possible, but necessary. If the authorities won't respond, maybe he will. Maybe he has to. By late 2021, his mind is made up. He will strike back at North Korea himself. But can one man really wage cyber war against an entire nation without getting caught? Without triggering an international incident? Without starting a real war? The reconnaissance P4X begins his mission the way any good hacker would, with patient, methodical intelligence gathering. For months, he's been the prey. Now he becomes the hunter, his target, North Korea's connection to the global internet. Most people assume North Korea's cyber capabilities must be formidable. After all, they've pulled off major attacks like the Sony Pictures hack, the WannaCry ransomware epidemic, and billions in cryptocurrency theft. Their hackers have a fearsome reputation. Surely their own digital defenses must be impenetrable. What P4X discovers shocks him. North Korea's internet infrastructure is astonishingly fragile. The country's entire online presence consists of a tiny handful of networks, fewer than 24 official websites, and connections to the outside world that run through just a few physical routes via China and Russia. It's a digital house of cards, isolated and vulnerable. Night after night, P4X probes North Korea's systems from afar. He scans ports, tests services, maps network topology. He examines every accessible server, every website, every email gateway. He's looking for vulnerabilities, security flaws that would allow him to disrupt their operations. What he finds astounds him. They're everywhere. North Korea's internet infrastructure is riddled with basic, well-known security holes that should have been patched years ago. Outdated versions of web servers running ancient software with documented vulnerabilities. Unpatched systems vulnerable to exploits published openly online. Weak configurations that collapse under specific types of traffic. One server runs a version of Nginx with a known flaw where malformed HTTP headers cause complete system failure. Another runs Apache software from 2015 with a dozen critical vulnerabilities. These aren't sophisticated zero-day exploits that cost millions on the black market. These are basic security failures, the digital equivalent of leaving your front door not just unlocked but wide open. It's pretty interesting how easy it was to actually have some effect in there, P4X notes with dark amusement. The more he maps their network, the more confidence he gains. This is actually doable. He begins writing custom attack scripts. If one person is going to take on an entire country's internet, automation is essential. His code will continuously scan North Korean servers, identify which ones are online, then systematically hit them with exploits designed to overload or crash them. It's a denial of service operation with surgical precision, like a digital guerrilla warfare campaign. Every line of code serves one purpose: knock North Korea offline. P4X designs the attacks to be relentless but targeted, affecting government infrastructure while minimizing impact on ordinary citizens, though few North Koreans have internet access anyway. As he prepares, P4X operates in complete secrecy. He knows what he's planning is legally dangerous. Under US law, unauthorized computer intrusion is a serious federal crime, even if the target is a hostile foreign power. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act doesn't have a vigilante exception. If caught, he faces prison. And if North Korea identifies him, a regime that's assassinated defectors abroad, that imprisons entire families for political crimes, would certainly consider retaliation. P4X could become a target for kidnapping, assassination, or worse, so he takes precautions. He adopts the pseudonym P4X, pronounced Pax, a cheeky reference to enforcing peace through punishment. Under this digital mask, he can operate anonymously. No real name, no face, no traceable identity. just a faceless ghost delivering payback. He sets up his attack infrastructure carefully. Some of the code runs on his personal laptop. Other components run on rented cloud servers, adding layers of obfuscation between him and the target. He routes traffic through multiple countries, making attribution nearly impossible. By January 2022, everything is ready. The code is tested, the targets are identified, the automation is perfected. P4X sits at his computer, probably in his usual uniform of looking like any other work-from-home American. But what he's about to do is extraordinary and dangerous. He double-checks his operational security one final time. His heart pounds with adrenaline, anger, and defiant purpose. After taking a deep breath, he types the command. The attack launches. Code floods toward North Korea. The one-man cyber war has begun. But will it actually work? Or will it expose him to retaliation that could end his freedom or his life? In a quiet Miami apartment, P4X's monitors glow with streams of data flooding toward North Korea. At first, the experience feels anticlimactic. There are no explosions, no immediate visual confirmation, just code executing, packets transmitting, scripts running in endless loops. To pass the time and maintain some sense of normalcy, P4X cues up an alien invasion movie on his television. He munches on spicy corn chips, pretending this is just another evening. But every few minutes, he pauses the film and shuffles back to his home office to check the attack's progress. Each time, the news gets better. One by one, North Korean servers stop responding to his probes. He pings the country's handful of websites. Air Koryo's booking site, offline. Naenara, the regime's official propaganda portal, offline. The Korean Central News Agency site, offline. Refresh. Still nothing. Refresh again. Error messages everywhere. Across the world, anyone attempting to access North Korean websites encounters timeout errors. Inside the secretive nation, officials suddenly find their external email and web access severed. North Korea is being systematically knocked off the global internet. Still, P4X doesn't celebrate yet. Is this real? Could one person truly accomplish this? He checks independent monitoring services like Pingdom, which track website uptime globally. The status charts for North Korean domains show solid red bars, outages across the board. Every single site is down simultaneously. Meanwhile, cybersecurity researchers monitoring North Korean networks detect massive, mysterious attack waves overwhelming the country's infrastructure. They're baffled, having no idea who's conducting these sophisticated operations. The scale and precision suggest a nation-state actor, yet no government claims responsibility. P4X allows himself a grin. It's working, and nobody suspects it's him. Hour after hour, the cyber onslaught continues. P4X's automated scripts relentlessly bombard vulnerable servers until they crash, then immediately pivot to the next target. North Korea's few connections to the outside internet are overloaded, their routers paralyzed by traffic they can't process. What he's executing is essentially a distributed denial of service attack, but highly targeted, exploiting specific weaknesses in North Korea's infrastructure rather than simply flooding them with random traffic. It's surgical, efficient, and devastatingly effective. By the time P4X finally stops for the night, practically every North Korean website is offline. An entire nation's internet presence has been felled by one man at his keyboard. Before heading to bed, he takes a moment to absorb what he's accomplished. The feeling is strange. Triumph, mixed with disbelief, and a hint of fear about what comes next. He has proven that even a seemingly impenetrable regime can be vulnerable in cyberspace. North Korea's internet, supposedly a tightly controlled iron fortress, just got punched through with relative ease. The first night of his personal cyber war comes to a close. Sites are dark. The regime is digitally blind. But now the real danger begins. What happens when the world notices? What happens when intelligence agencies start asking questions? And what happens when North Korea realizes it's under attack and starts looking for who's responsible. The next morning, news of North Korea's internet outage quietly spreads through intelligence communities and cybersecurity circles. It's not every day that an entire country goes offline, especially one as geopolitically sensitive as North Korea. Speculation immediately runs wild. Analysts in Washington, Seoul, and Tokyo scramble to understand what happened. Did U.S. Cyber Command launch a retaliatory strike? Was this South Korea's intelligence service sending a message? The timing seems too coincidental to ignore. North Korea had conducted several ballistic missile tests just days before, prompting international condemnation and threats of additional sanctions. Some whisper that this must be a punitive cyber operation by a major power, a secret message telling Pyongyang to back off its saber rattling. After all, who else could take down an entire country's internet? The sophistication and scope suggest state-level resources, not random hackers. At the Pentagon, officials are questioned about the outage. They maintain diplomatic silence, neither confirming nor denying involvement. This ambiguity only deepens the mystery and raises the stakes. If North Korea believes the U.S. government attacked them, how might they respond? North Korea's government predictably remains silent. There's no public admission that anything is wrong. No acknowledgement of the outage. Inside the country, almost no ordinary citizens even realize the internet is down because they don't have access to the global internet in the first place. Fewer than 1% of North Koreans can go online beyond the country's domestic intranet. The outages primarily affect the regime's external propaganda websites and communication channels with the outside world. So on the streets of Pyongyang, life continues as normal. The blackout is an embarrassment for the leadership and a potential security concern, but not a nationwide crisis. However, abroad, among the small circle of North Korea watchers, the outage is significant news. For several consecutive days, nearly all of North Korea's websites remain unreachable. Tech forums and social media light up with analysis and speculation. Cybersecurity researchers publish theories. Is North Korea under sustained cyber attack? When some sites briefly come back online, they crash again within hours, as if someone is toying with the regime's connection to the outside world, deliberately flipping the switch on and off. Yet no government claims responsibility. No hacktivist group takes credit. This mystery only intensifies the international intrigue. The lack of answers creates an almost cinematic whodunit scenario. Global powers eye each other suspiciously. Is this covert pressure by the U.S., a South Korean intelligence operation, something else entirely? Little does anyone suspect that the person holding North Korea's internet hostage is not a nation's cyber army, but a lone individual working from home. P4X watches this global guessing game unfold with quiet satisfaction. He sees articles speculating about state-sponsored operations and nearly laughs out loud. Experts pontificating on television about military cyber doctrine have no idea this is personal revenge playing out in real time. For P4X, that confusion is part of the satisfaction. He doesn't want fame or public credit. Not yet anyway. Staying in the shadows keeps him safe. As long as the regime doesn't know who's hitting them, they can't hit back. The anonymity is both protection and power. But the longer the mystery continues, the more dangerous the situation becomes. In Pyongyang, military and intelligence officials convene emergency meetings. They assume they're under attack by a hostile state. If they believe the U.S. is responsible, how might they respond? Could this trigger a military escalation? In Washington, officials who genuinely don't know what's happening grow concerned. If North Korea retaliates against what they perceive as an American attack, it could spark a serious international incident. The potential for miscalculation and escalation is very real. P4X is aware of these risks, but feels his conscience is clear. He set out to embarrass North Korea and demonstrate that actions have consequences, even for rogue regimes. From his perspective, he's succeeding. I definitely wanted to affect the government as much as possible, and the people as little as possible, he explains. Knocking out propaganda websites feels like tearing down a dictator's billboards. Symbolic justice with minimal civilian impact. Flushed with his initial success, P4X decides not to stop at temporary outages. Why stop now? The more he thinks about it, the more he realizes this one-man operation could become something bigger, more significant. North Korea's hackers will continue targeting Western individuals and organizations if left unchecked. Someone needs to maintain pressure, so P4X raises the stakes. His next objective: actually breach North Korean systems, dig through their networks, steal sensitive information, and potentially expose it to the world. If simply shutting off their internet got attention, imagine the impact of leaking internal regime data or embarrassing communications. But P4X recognizes his limitations. One person can only do so much. So he quietly establishes a covert website on the dark web, calling it the Funk Project, short for FU North Korea. It's a rallying call for other hacktivists and security researchers to join his cause. This is a project to keep North Korea honest, the site declares. He's effectively recruiting a team, aiming to multiply his firepower. One hacker took the country offline. A handful of skilled operators could potentially penetrate deeper, maintain sustained pressure, and hold the regime accountable. It's the beginning of a vigilante cyber army in the making. The mission: ongoing operations against North Korea's digital infrastructure until they stop attacking Western individuals and organizations. Not everyone in the cybersecurity community applauds P4X's vigilante justice. Some researchers worry his noisy attacks might interfere with classified intelligence operations. What if US agencies had already infiltrated those same North Korean servers? His strikes could expose legitimate espionage missions. Others point out the legal reality. Unauthorized computer intrusion is a federal crime, period. It doesn't matter if the target is a hostile foreign power. Under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, P4X is almost certainly breaking the law. Then there's the danger of North Korean retaliation. The regime has assassinated defectors abroad, poisoned critics, and imprisoned families of those who embarrass the leadership. If they identify P4X, the consequences could be deadly. Is P4X scared? Surprisingly, no. He's driven by anger, principle, and defiance. North Korea commits outrageous cyber attacks with complete impunity. The international community issues statements, but rarely takes action the regime actually feels. Someone has to push back. "My conscience is clear," he says confidently. Exposing Kim's digital weaknesses is worth the risk. His message isn't just for North Korea. It's for his own government too. By going rogue, he hopes to shame US authorities into better protecting citizens like him. The geopolitical implications are serious. For weeks, tensions remain elevated. North Korean state media issues cryptic warnings about hostile forces, but never acknowledges the outages. US intelligence scrambles to identify the attacker. Was it an ally, an adversary, someone else? The ambiguity creates danger. If North Korea believes the US government attacked them and retaliates through cyber strikes on American infrastructure or military escalation, the consequences could be catastrophic. For a brief period in early 2022, the world teeters on the edge of a crisis triggered not by governments, but by one angry hacker, a cyber attack that nearly started a war. Ultimately, cooler heads prevail. North Korea doesn't launch major retaliation, perhaps because they can't identify the attacker. The US government likely discovers P4X's identity, but chooses not to prosecute, possibly to avoid the embarrassment of admitting one citizen accomplished what they hadn't. When asked about his endgame, P4X chuckles. Regime change? No, I'm just kidding. He's not trying to topple governments. Just prove that even powerful regimes are vulnerable and actions have consequences. So far, no law enforcement has knocked on his door. North Korea hasn't found him. P4X stands unpunished, unidentified, and unbowed, leaving a regime looking over its shoulder and the world wondering, how long can one hacker stay invisible in a war this dangerous? His story proves that in the digital age, individuals wield power once reserved for governments. But while P4X fought for justice, Denis thousands of criminals use the same skills for profit, turning stolen identities into a billion-dollar black market. If this story shocked you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more incredible cyber stories that shape our world.